What's going on, Cancer? And welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and I hope you're feeling fantastic today. So, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and shares. Your support really is just amazing, Cancer, and it keeps us growing. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm happy Higher Self has brought you here. We are in for an amazing journey. So the purpose of this channel, for those of you who have Cancer in your placement, Sun, Moon, Rising, Uranus, wherever, Cancer, this one's for you. And I do tarot card spreads based off our ruler here, the good old Moon. And I'll talk about what sign she's in, what phase she's in, and when she's going void, of course, just all of those lunar shenanigans. And just so you're all aware, this is a general reading, not a one-to-one, so take what resonates with you, leave the rest with me. Never force reading on a situation, and everything will be great, Cancer. Now, let's jump into it. Your space has been cleansed. Gems, feeling lovely. Just great energy all around here, Cancer. So, Cancer, the moon is in Aquarius. And with the moon being in Aquarius, you might be feeling a little more emotionally detached, just because anytime the moon is in an air sign, it's just air, it tends to be a little more intellectual energy. Oh, okay. Beautiful, Cancer. Look at that. But that doesn't mean that you won't be socializing, Cancer, because if anything, Aquarius is all about networking and groups, memberships, humanitarianism. So this is a great energy if you've been wanting to meet up with some friends, or maybe if you want to do something with the community, however that may translate for you, Cancer, work with this energy. And it's also good too, while we're in said groups, if these groups happen to be maybe on a business scale, or maybe even just like you just want to spitball some ideas in general. This, Aquarius energy is very innovative, very brilliant, very intelligent energy. So yeah, work with this stuff, Cancer. Moon's got your back on this one. Well, Moon's always got your back, Cancer. And then the moon is in a waning gibbous or a disseminating moon phase. And with this phase, Cancer, now we're on the reflective end of the lunar phases. So this is just like really about observing how this transformation, whatever it is that you set off for the beginning of this lunar cycle, how that has transformed you and raised your vibrations, and what ways that we can, if there are any tweaks that need to be made, do we want to do that right now? Do we want to do this into the next lunar cycle? How does that look like? Asking those kind of internal questions. So this is just great for, really just, doing some evaluation, doing some internal reflection, all that, Cancer. And then last couple of things. The decks that I'm working with, I've included links for them down in the description box below, so check that out if you're curious, Cancer. And then these readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings, so apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situation. Oh, all right, Cancer. So you got the second card of Libras here. This card is a trip, which is the ostrich trap. And with this ostrich trap, this is a card of avoidance, closed-mindedness, refusing to face reality, evade, feeling threatened, fake out, inhibit, fear-based thinking, steering clear, run for cover, and just a conspiracy theory. And with this being the energy, Cancer, we do want to be mindful of let's talk about the facing reality, because there are a lot of changes that are happening, and sometimes with all the changes and the shifts and things, it can lead to where we get to a place of getting in like reactive behavior, where we are operating from maybe a place of fear or anxiety, worry, stress, however that might look, if that's something that's resonating with you. But when I'm thinking about the fusing to face reality, it's not to say that all that stuff isn't important, Cancer, but it's just like, how are we going about dealing with this stuff? Are we just staying in panic mode, kind of, just really got our head just kind of tucked in there, not really, this could be even like, are we indulging in any sort of escapist behaviors, however that might translate, Cancer. You just want to face this thing head on. The change, it's meant for growth, it can be a little tricky sometimes, and how it translates, can kind of push us, but it's really just a universe, when when we face these things, Cancer, it really does help us, just thinking with Libra energy. It does help us get back in balance, because now we can see where, when we face, whatever it is that's causing these anxiety, fear, stressors and things, it's just like, okay, here they are. Now what are we going to do with them? Let's figure out how we can keep this energy moving. But, I think when I think about this card, it's kind of like like that analogy when you talk about like ripping the Band-Aid off. It's like, do you want to pull it off, one hair at a time, or do we just want to, that might have sucked for a second, but it's now we've given it time to breathe, Cancer, because that's got to be tough too, even for this ostrich. Eventually, it's going to have to come up for air, unless it's breathing elsewhere, which I don't. To let me know how your ostrich knowledge is there, Cancer, but yeah, and just in general, Cancer, yeah, we just want to be mindful of avoidance, anything along those lines. But let's see how we can work with this energy. Okie dokie, Cancer. I like that. You got the Two of Cups and then you have the Four of Swords here. And that's perfect. When we have stuff that, that anything that has you feeling threatened, Cancer, if you have anything that gives you, just threatens your security, it's a great time for really both of this stuff on one of Libra's cards. Because with the Four of Swords, I feel like that this is, when we get in situations like that, we want to pause and just really be present in that. Take a moment, maybe sit with this for a second, maybe journal about it, maybe go for a walk, anything that can just help you get in a place of calm. And when I think with the Two of Cups, because this is one of our cards, this is, and which is funny because Venus is in Cancer right now and should be there through the 1st of June. And this is a great energy to really just connect back with yourself. Find out where the source of this thing is and then nurture that. Figure out what we can do to get out of this feeling here and then start taking that action towards it, because even though that can be like a soft energy, that Venus in Cancer, Venus is an abundant planet and Venus gets things done, Cancer. So take this time, whatever stressors or anything, make sure that we take some time to nurture that. Get yourself back zen and get out of our heads, Cancer, because that's something too. If we stay in our head too long with this, with anything, kind of like panic-based stuff in general, that's just going to keep perpetuating the problem, We want to get to a place where we start just moving this thing forward, where we just get out of this, where we just start facing reality, Cancer. And when we find that balance, Cancer, this card is Jupiter and Libra. The sooner we go to find that balance and put that healing there, some self-care into that, the faster we get to that abundance. Let's see how else we can work with this energy. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, Cancer, I'm with it. Let's see what we got here. So we got 3 of Coins, the 10 of Swords, and then we got the Hierophant. So with this stuff, Cancer, whatever this thing is that we may be avoiding, and this doesn't even have to be right now, Cancer, we find something that we, a challenge in the future that we may have trouble facing, whether this be a self-improvement, maybe this is bills, maybe this is whatever this, maybe this is even like a conversation. Whatever this is, Cancer, it's going to require some work, but it's going to be that's going to be worth it in the end. One is going to help you relieve yourself of some of these burdens and help you to move on and start to, to really do some growth, focus on some healing. But, the 10 of Swords, it can feel like this is like the worst situation, that we've hit rock bottom and that we can't, there's no going up from here, that we're just going to be just stuck in this sand trap, indefinitely. But with the Hierophant, And how perfect, depending on when you're watching us being in Taurus season. And honestly, with Mercury still being in retrograde, this is a great time for, again, slowing down, being present, making that connection with yourself. Taurus energy, the Hierophant is very intuitive energy. And this is a great time for self-care, for really just nurturing yourself, getting your place back, giving your head back in a state of calm. And sometimes even just, like having like a self-care day, Cancer, can be some work, because it's like you want to relax, but it's just like the stresses are still going on. And listen, Cancer, I'm not saying to do this stuff to avoid your problems. It's more so if we're operating more, from like a panic place, and we make reactive decisions. But when we find that Zen, Cancer, make that connection and operate from because Taurus, the Hierophant, they're a sign of security. One of the aspects that they cover. And when we find ourselves in that, when we're at that physical, mental, spiritual security, then we can. It helps us to, the solutions start appearing to us. The ideas start coming through, the epiphanies, the opportunities really start presenting themselves. So really just something to think about, Cancer. Alrighty. Nice little start there. Let's see what are going to be some, we'll see what is going to be some challenges when working with this energy, Cancer. Interesting. Yeah. So you got the Queen of Coins here, and then you have the Page of Swords. And what can happen, Cancer, especially if we get trapped in this, get caught in like a spiral, it can get to a place where I think we had something like this last time, where we were, at least with the scenario with the Page of Swords, where it becomes like this opponent, where the thoughts if we keep feeding into those thoughts, they form into this to this crazy bird with this sword that can seem like we can't handle that. It gets us to this place where we might, where we kind of duck for cover and don't want to face that. But Cancer, you're more resourceful than you know. It may not, because whatever this is, this could be, if let's say if this is like a bill thing, for example, it's like, okay, when are things due? Let's start from that standpoint. It's like, and then how far if we're behind, how far behind are we? Okay, let's get a game plan instead of staying in a place of, of panic. Let's get to like all right, what resources are available to me? Do I know someone? Do I have a Queen of Coins, Hierophant, maybe a couple other raccoon buddies that could help me? Maybe we can work a side hustle together. Maybe we can reach out to like a community. Hey, if I wash your car, can you throw me a couple like however that looks, Cancer, if depending on how the situation is, we gotta, we may have to get a little creative there. But the Queen of Coins, she's the type that even if we gotta might get out of our comfort zone a little bit. I'm not saying doing anything compromising, Cancer, but just more so, this is Capricorn energy, and sometimes we might have to, we gotta grind a little bit sometimes, depending on the situation, to get out of this thing. But you can get out of this, Cancer, and you're going to acquire some new skills out of this. You're going to learn what a hustler you are and how resourceful you are, and then this helps you too. That, okay, definitely don't want to feel like that again. So how can I set up some stuff for the future? How can I invest further in that? This, and that's going to be great energy too, Cancer, for when Jupiter enters into Taurus. Going to be on the 16th. That's the kind of stuff we want to be thinking about. How can we further these skills along and think about how we can invest in ourselves? So, yes, something to think about. More. All right, Cancer, let's get some tea and let's get some advice from Saturn and Uranus. And that's with Uranus and Taurus as well, just even thinking about that. Uranus and Taurus, when we get in situations that may seem stressful or anything along those lines, these changes that may be happening in our world or that might happen in the future, they're not meant to just shake our security just cause. Uranus doesn't just come through and just that's not his jam. Uranus really is coming through to say like, hey, the times are changing. Pluto's moving into Aquarius in a couple years. The few more, including Uranus, is going to be making, they will be making some big moves. And when the outer planets make moves, Cancer, these are generational shifts here. So this is a time to be thinking about this kind of stuff, thinking about our security, thinking about our resources, forming connections, 3 of coins, all of that stuff. So really be thinking about that. But let's get some advice from these two. I love it, Cancer. You got the Ace of Swords here. And really, Cancer, what happens, because sometimes it's like I feel like we might be, the reason we're hiding is because we don't know the answer. But when we come and face the problem and really face that beast head on, then the ideas start pouring in. The realization is like, okay, what resources do I have? As instead of focusing on, let's say if we've been thinking from a place of lack, think about, okay, what do I have at my disposal? Who can I call? What does that look like? Are there some things online maybe that I can do? And Cancer, I get, maybe for I don't have maybe internet even at our disposal. Then maybe let's go to a library. Let's go to something along those lines, Cancer. But it's just like we can't, just thinking of, if we make an excuse for every reason to not do something, then we're just getting in the way of the Ace of Swords. We've become our own opponent, Cancer, and that's not the point that the Ace of Swords wants to prove. But it can be a double-edged sword. But we just have to realize that the answers are all within us. We just gotta get a little creative, think outside of the box. But it's right there, and really meditating with that, asking yourself these internal questions. What do I have at my disposal? And the things will start coming to you, Cancer. Yeah, because I like the Ace of Swords. But with any of the aces, the aces where they're kind of like my seed cards, it depends on what you do with the seeds. It's one thing to plant them, but are you nurturing them on top of that? If you're not giving it any water, if you're not making sure it's not getting any sunlight, Cancer, metaphorically speaking, and honestly, literally too. Get outside, get some sun, go play in the dirt, all that stuff, Cancer. But that's what the aces are about. It's one thing to know, okay, I have all this stuff at my disposal here, but if we don't do anything with it, then it's just, you got a pretty sword just sitting there, Cancer. So just, Cancer. All right, Cancer, last couple here. Love it. All right, Cancer. So we have the Four of Wands here, and then we have the Knight of Swords. And let's switch back over. I like that little finisher there. Because here's what happens. Knight of Swords. This is Aquarius cards. He rules the first 2 deacons of Aquarius and the last of Capricorns. Love that. And with the Knight of Swords, he's the type that whatever the situation is, they're gonna put in the research. They're gonna find the options. What they need to do to get out of this funk. It might get a little tricky at times. We may have to do some weird kind of maneuvers there, and Cancer. However this may be translating. Let's not get in any kind of trouble or anything. But you might have to do get creative with how we find solutions to these problems. But the Four of Wands is when we get through that, when we put in that research and put in that work, we get to that completion, Cancer. And two, when you get this realization, when we start getting that ideas, get those, start forming start forming an ally instead of an opponent, then celebrate that, Cancer, because that's a big win, and keep celebrating those every time we have these breakthroughs, because that's how we get to those big wins, like the chariots, the Six of Wands, all of those things, Cancer. So I like that. Nice little end in there. So something to think about, Cancer. But I think I'm gonna leave that there. Give it a thumbs up, Cancer. Definitely, I dig that. That was some solid energy there. Yeah, help this energy get this. I tell you, I'd be happy with Mercury retrograde. It's getting close to being over, but I feel like now it's like going like full swing here, Cancer, because the words have just been like it's been word salad like nuts. But nature, my problem. Share this, Cancer. If you know someone who is going through this, who can't articulate their problems and not so affected by this Mercury retrograde, but yeah, definitely share this, Cancer, because this it can feel tricky sometimes, especially with where the energies are kind of going. But this really is. I feel there's especially with Jupiter getting ready to move into Taurus, I feel like there's some dope stuff that's on the horizon here, Cancer. And then subscribe, hit that bell button. You get notified when I release videos each day. And then this this was a great app for when I was going through avoidance and things. But I've been on this app Insight Timer for just a number of years. But I created a group on there called Zodiacs Raising the Vibration, and it's just a group that to drop positive affirmations, encouraging messages, even tell your story. Talk about times we may have gotten stuck, but then how you rose up from this thing. How you took the information, Knight of Swords, how resourceful you got, Queen of Pentacles there, and any kind of things to just show that, like, hey, we all go through this at some point in time, but we can figure it out, And then as the group grows, definitely want to do something where I kind of schedule different meditations, and we'll just see how it goes, Cancer. Definitely Queen of Coins and I are cooking up something, so should be a fun old time. But all that information is in the description box. And then last little thing, check your sun, your moon, your rising. Just check your chart, Cancer, when you get a chance. And then come on over to my other channel, Alchemist 8. I do weekly videos there. They all got different themes, and it's a good old time. And all that housekeeping down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise cards here, so I can get you out of here. I love how you do this, Cancer. It's gonna become like the thing, Page of Swords, and then we finish up with the Page of Cups here. And that's what we got to do, Cancer. That's sick, because with the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups, when the nice thing about these situations, Cancer, if we can find a silver lining when we get in like ostrich traps and things, is that it does give us a chance to kind of think outside of the box and think, how can we get out of this? Use your, the Page of Cups is very imaginative energy, and just even thinking with Aquarius energy, how I was mentioning that they're innovative. They're the types that they don't even really think outside of the box. They'll completely destroy it and build like a pyramid. That's Aquarius energy, and that's what we're going to need, Cancer. Sometimes when we're going through this stuff. And then you got for your oracle card, you got the Passion Flower in reverse, which is a surrender card, and this is ruled by Neptune and the Moon. And I like this, Cancer, because when we start, I almost feel like with this, that when we don't, this almost feels like to me to not to surrender to the fears of things, Cancer. Because when you think about Neptune and the Moon, these are like, the Moon deals with like our subconscious, and Neptune deals with this very dreamy energy, can deal in that realm of escapism and things. But this is not about surrendering to the fears and the illusions, Cancer. It's to embrace them and see what wisdom. You see these two owls up here? What wisdom what is lurking maybe in these hidden realms here, in that subconscious. But when you start believing in yourself, Cancer, and knowing that that there's nothing to be afraid of, that you can face this stuff head on, that there's, and to think broader, allow yourself to not feel constricted in your options, man. I mean, that's how you put Page of Cups to the max. That's how you work with this ocean of abundance that we're working with, Cancer. Here's your opponent, your thoughts. Let's start creating some solutions here, Cancer. So I like that. Strong little finish. I like this little theme, this Page of Swords, Page of Cups thing here, Cancer. That's groovy. So you stay safe out there. And, I get it, Cancer. Especially this is something that's resonating with you, but we're gonna get through this just fine. It's just a matter of, I had a situation where I was kind of not necessarily avoiding something, but definitely put it on the back burner. But the second that I was like, all right, what am I gonna do about this thing? An opportunity came up, and I almost missed it, Cancer. At first, I dismissed it, and that's what happens sometimes with Ace of Swords. It's just like here, you want a nice little sword? It's just like, nah, that's good. But then you're just like, oh, wait a minute. That actually would solve like quite a bit of my problems. Like, wait, let me look at the sword again. But it can be tricky like that, Cancer. So pay attention to those things. You keep eyes on that moon. Meditate under it, Cancer. Ask that. Maybe surrender the energies to the moon. Just be like, hey, Luna, what do I do? Looking for a sign. And if Cancer, if you're looking for a sign, I'll save that maybe for next time. But let me get you out of here. Keep eyes on the moon, and I will catch you on the next one tomorrow.